At our engagement party, my fiancé's ex gave me a box. "Open it when you're alone," she said. Inside was a USB drive. The first video started with him saying, "She still has no idea." I didn't confront him. I played it at the rehearsal dinner instead. I met Greg 2 years ago in Dallas. We were both at a friend's birthday at this rooftop bar downtown. He was charming, smooth talker, the type who always had just the right words. We started dating that same week. For a while, everything felt perfect. Dinners out, trips to Austin and New Orleans. He met my parents after 6 months and they loved him. My dad shook his hand like he was already part of the family. We got engaged a year and a half later. The proposal was dramatic, of course. He rented a hot air balloon. I was terrified of heights, but said yes anyway, holding the ring with shaking hands at 3,000 feet. We decided on a short engagement. 6 months, just enough time to plan a wedding without losing our minds. The engagement party was held at this Italian place we both loved. We rented out the back patio. It was strung with lights and filled with people we cared about. My sister, my college friends, even Greg's weird uncle from Houston made the trip. Everything was going smoothly until I saw her. Tara. Greg told me about her early on. Said they dated for 5 years and it ended badly. He claimed she cheated and that he cut things off cold. He warned me she was unstable and might try to stir things up. So when she walked into our engagement party, my stomach dropped. She didn't make a scene. No yelling. No drama. She just walked up to me like she belonged there. She looked me in the eye and handed me a plain, small brown box. "Open it when you're alone," she said. That's all. Then she walked out. I didn't say anything to Greg. I didn't even tell my sister. I stuck the box into my purse and smiled through the rest of the party like my skin wasn't crawling. When we got back to my sister's house, Greg crashed on the couch. He'd had too much wine and was snoring before I even changed out of my dress. I went into the guest room and locked the door. The box wasn't taped, just folded shut. Inside, there was a single thing, a USB drive. No note, no instructions. I plugged it into my laptop, half expecting some weird virus. But there was only one file. It was named for her. The video started with Greg. My Greg. Sitting on a beige couch I didn't recognize. He looked relaxed, almost smug. "She still has no idea," he said with a laugh. Off screen, a woman's voice answered. "Tara's. You're gonna tell her, right?" Greg grinned. "Eventually. Or maybe not. I mean, if I play it right, she'll never know." I paused the video. My mouth was dry. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I pressed play again. The next clip was different. Same couch, different angle. Tara was in the frame now, next to Greg. They were both in pajamas. She leaned into him like she belonged there. Greg looked into the camera. "For the record," he said, "it's not cheating if you never break up. She thinks we're done, but we're not. This is just temporary. I'll get her back. The other one's just a placeholder." The other one was me. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't scream. I watched the rest of the videos, 7 in total. Over the span of 6 months, all of them showed Greg and Tara together. Laughing, sleeping, talking about me like I was some side project. When the last one ended, I sat there in the dark for over an hour. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him. I was going to let everyone else do it for me. The rehearsal dinner was 2 nights later. His parents flew in from Oregon. My mom spent the whole afternoon double-checking the seating chart. Greg was beaming the whole time, acting like nothing in the world could touch him. I slipped the USB into my purse and told the restaurant manager I needed a favor. There was a screen at the venue for our slideshow, photos of us growing up, our trips, our engagement. I asked the manager to switch the files at the last minute. Told him I'd bring the new one in private. He didn't ask questions. That night, when Greg stood up to give his little speech about how much he loved me, how blessed he felt, I just watched him. I didn't smile. I didn't blink. Then the lights dimmed, and the first video started playing. Greg, on the couch, laughing. She still has no idea. People started looking around. A few chuckled at first, thinking it was some joke. Then Tara's voice. You're gonna tell her, right? Then Greg again. The other one's just a placeholder. The room fell dead silent. I stood up, picked up my glass. Cheers, everyone, I said. To the truth. Nobody moved. The video kept playing clip after clip. Greg in bed with Tara. Greg laughing at me behind my back. Greg saying I was easy to lie to. You could hear forks dropping. Someone near the back whispered, "Is this real?" Greg froze. His face went from confused to horrified in seconds. He stepped forward and reached for the remote the restaurant manager had left on the podium, but I was already there. I grabbed it first and shoved it into my dress pocket. Don't, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You've said enough already. His mom gasped. His dad stood up like he was about to say something but sat back down when my dad stood, arms crossed, jaw clenched. Greg looked around the room like someone might save him, but no one did. Not even his friends. The final clip ended with him saying, "If she finds out, I'll just spin it. She's too into me to leave anyway." That's when people started talking. My sister stood up and said, "You're trash, Greg." Her voice cracked, but her face was stone. One of Greg's groomsmen, James, muttered, "Dude, what the hell?" Then Greg spoke. "I can explain," he said, holding his hands up like that would fix anything. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. Loud. "You said it wasn't cheating because you never broke up with her. So, which one of us were you cheating on?" He looked like he might cry. It was complicated. I tilted my head. It's about to get more complicated. Then Tara walked in. I didn't plan that part. I hadn't invited her. I didn't even know she was coming. But there she was, standing just inside the door in jeans and a t-shirt, arms crossed. "Hey, Greg," she said. Surprised. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Tara walked right past him and came to stand next to me. "I figured you'd do it," she said to me quietly. "But just in case you didn't, I came prepared to ruin him myself." I nodded. "Thanks for the backup." Then she turned to the room and said, "He told me he was only marrying her for money. That his business was failing and she'd make a good investment." Those were his words. That part, even I didn't know. My cousin shouted from across the room, "What kind of scumbag says that?" Greg looked like he might faint. He tried again, "I didn't mean it like that. I just meant." But nobody was listening anymore. The restaurant manager came up to me and asked quietly if I wanted him to shut the event down. I told him no. Leave it. Let everyone eat. They didn't deserve to go hungry just because my fiancé was a lying coward. Greg tried to follow me out the back door, still pleading, still trying to talk. I turned to him and said, "You were right about one thing, though." He blinked. "What?" I had no idea. But now I do. And I'll make sure everyone else does too. Then I walked out. Tara followed. And we weren't done yet. We didn't go home that night. Tara and I ended up at a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering signs and vending machines that barely worked. We split a bottle of cheap red wine and watched reruns on mute while the reality of what just happened settled in. Around 1 a.m., she said, "There's more." I turned to her. "More what?" She looked down at the plastic cup in her hands. "He didn't just lie to you and me. There's another girl. Maybe two." I sat up. "You're sure?" She nodded. "One of them messaged me last week on Instagram. Said she saw us together in one of the videos I posted and wanted to know how long we'd been seeing each other." "What did she say?" "She said Greg had been seeing her for almost a year. He told her you were his cousin." I blinked. "His cousin?" Tara nodded. "And the other one?" "She might actually be pregnant." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I thought the worst had already happened, but this was something else. This wasn't just a lie. This was a campaign. A scam. A web of crap he built and thought he could keep spinning forever. I asked Tara to message both women and tell them to meet us. I didn't care if it was messy. I wanted everything out in the open. We met the next day at a coffee shop downtown. It was me, Tara, a girl named Lexi, and another one named Bree. Lexi was the one he told I was his cousin. Bree looked exhausted. When she sat down, she put a hand on her belly. "I'm 5 weeks," she said. "He doesn't know yet. He's been ghosting me since Monday." That was 2 days before the rehearsal dinner. We sat at that table for nearly 3 hours, piecing together timelines, sharing screenshots, comparing text messages. It was like building a murder board for a man's lies. He told Lexi he wanted to move to Colorado with her. He told Bree he was planning to leave me after the wedding once he'd secured the money. He told Tara she was the love of his life, and everyone else was a temporary distraction. But here's where it gets worse. He didn't just want my money. He wanted my family's business. My dad owns a successful HVAC company. Small, but profitable. Greg asked a lot of questions about it over the last year. Too many. Wanted to know how the business was structured, who had power of attorney, what kind of buy-in he'd need to get involved. He even tried to talk me into letting him co-sign on the shop's next property purchase. Said it would help us grow as a couple. I never agreed. Thank God. But he was trying. He had a whole plan. I couldn't just walk away now. I needed to make sure he didn't try this on someone else. That he didn't crawl back with another lie and another angle. So I came up with one more step. We were going to show up at his business pitch meeting. He had told me about it weeks ago. Some investor lunch he was setting up, hoping to get funding for a startup app he kept rambling about. He called it his exit strategy. Said it would make him independent. He didn't know I remembered the date and time. He didn't know all 4 of us would show up, uninvited. With receipts. The investor lunch was held at a fancy downtown restaurant, the kind with valet parking and white tablecloths. We got there early. I wore a black dress and heels. Tara, Lexi, and Bree dressed sharp too. We didn't want to look angry. We wanted to look serious. The host tried to stop us at first, but I gave him Greg's full name and said we were his business partners. When Greg walked in, he was all smiles. He didn't see us at first. Just shook hands with 2 older men in suits, laughing like he was already sealing the deal. Then he saw me. His face dropped. His step slowed. He looked behind me and saw Tara, Lexi, and Bree standing just a few feet away. He tried to play it cool. "What the hell are you doing here?" I stepped forward and placed a folder on the table between him and the investors. Inside were screenshots, printouts, a full timeline, even a notarized statement from Tara detailing everything. Photos of him with each of us, taken over the last year. I said, "Thought your investors should see who they're about to trust with their money." One of the men picked up a sheet and read it silently. His jaw tightened. Greg's voice got loud. "This is harassment." The second investor, a man with gray hair and a gold watch, looked up at him. "You said you were in a stable relationship. That your fiancé was supporting your vision. You left that out, didn't you?" Greg started to sweat. "This is a personal matter. Has nothing to do with the business." Lexi stepped forward. "You tried to steal from her father's company." Greg spun around to face me. "Are you seriously doing this? After everything?" I didn't flinch. "You lied to me, used me, humiliated me. Now you're going to pay for it." Then Bree stepped up. She looked him dead in the eyes and said, "I'm pregnant. You want to talk about responsibility? Start there." The investors stood up. The man with the gold watch said, "We're done here." They left without looking back. Greg stood there shaking. "You just ruined my life." I walked up to him and said, "No. You ruined it. I just let the truth do its job." Then I handed him a letter. It was from my dad's lawyer, Official notice that Greg was being investigated for attempted fraud. He tried to forge paperwork to get access to our family business's financials using my name. He didn't think we'd find out. But we did. And I pressed charges. He was arrested 2 days later. Tara didn't want to press charges for the videos. Lexi blocked him. Bree kept the baby and put his name on the paperwork to make sure he'd never forget what he'd done. As for me, I moved out of Dallas. Took a job in San Antonio. Different city. New life. But I still have the USB. Not because I need to remember the pain, but because sometimes the best revenge is making sure the truth is never forgotten.